Howdy folks, it's Tom, your Frugal Prepper. Out here working as good as I can. I'm having a bad muscle reaction to the blood pressure medicine today that happens sometimes. It just makes my muscles weak and they kind of feel like Jell-O. But I've been cleaning out the firewood and I've loaded up another truck full of it. So I'm going to take that over to the mulching place and dump it out. You know, I'm not dumping it. It's not a dump bed. I have to lift it out. But this is a trailer full of firewood that I got from my friend. This is stuff that's just not completely rotten yet. It's still burnable. So I'm going to make a pile for that. But I was going to do that, and I was hauling it, and I was like, oh, that tire's a little low. I'm just going to go ahead and pull it back there and get my air pump out and pump it up. And well, it was lower than I thought, so it came off the bead and ripped the valve stem off of the inner tube. So I went out to Tractor Supply, got me another inner tube. I'm gonna fix that and put it back on. Got me another battery. I gotta make some battery cables to hook these two together in parallel. So I got enough recycling, some other stuff to get that extra battery. So now I just have to make cables and tie them together, then I'll have double the amount of power. Because I have solar panels that can go out here. I plan to get like a total of 6 batteries eventually, as I have the money and can buy one. Hook those all together so that they don't get too low, because you don't want to run a car battery too low or that sulfates it. But then I have 2 big 400 watt solar panels I can put up on the shed and charge them during the day, and they'll be able to provide power for my freezer. I have a 1500 watt inverter in my rendezvous that I can pull out and bring back here to power that. I do have a couple of small inverters back here, but those aren't big enough to run that freezer compressor. But it only runs every once in a while, so it will stay, you know, it'll keep those batteries charged up. I'd have enough to run it like for 3 days without any sun probably. But that's just another little emergency power thing. And then I have this special thermostat. I can change that out so that it'll stay frozen at the bottom, but it'll be a refrigerator up at the top. So it's emergency freezing and refrigeration. If my big generator is out of gas or I don't want to run it, my small generator's out of gas, don't want to run it a long term, kind of like we got an EMP and it took down the whole power grid for a year kind of thing. That's the ability to create power. You know, EMP might knock out the generators, it might knock out my solar, it might knock out everything, or it might just be enough to knock out the power grid and make big transformers. So, you know, just having multiple options. Anyway, so I am going to go ahead and put this tire on. I'll do a video on it. What the heck? Alright, so we got our new tube here. I haven't taken it out of the box yet. It's probably made in China. They're probably all made in China. Yeah, made in China. My tire's made in China. My old inner tube was made in China. My whole trailer was made in China. This one has a bent valve stem on it instead of a straight one, but I think that'll still work. So we gotta like get that in the tire and then put the tire on. So let me grab a chair here. Let me grab a chair and turn this camera around. Alright, so now we're ready to put it back up on here. It might have jacked itself down. Yeah, I'll have to pump the jack up a couple of times. Make sure it don't fall off. that goes on there. And we put this on here. And we have to put our little cotter pin through here. I'm using the same one. I already cut it down. I think it's still long enough. I hope it is. And we'll just bend one part of this back. We'll bend the other part of this back. There we go. That's good enough. I don't have to walk up and get another one out of the garage that way. So we'll take this piece of wood out. Take our milk crate out and let her down. All right. So now I'm going to check the air in that other tire while I got the air gauge out. I put some air in this one. I don't know if I put too much. It's right at, I mean, it's 2 marks below 30 pounds. That's close enough. So, it says maximum pressure, but it's not low. It'll be fine. So, maximum pressure is 30. But yeah, we got some tire pressure now. So now I'm just gonna go stack this firewood over beside the shed. And I got a couple pieces. I gotta get my chainsaw out and cut. All right, in case you're wondering why that saw kept stopping on me like that when I was cutting some of those harder boards, it's because my 4 amp hour battery was dead, so I had to put it on the charger. So I have like a little 1.5 amp hour battery on here, and that's not really enough to run this saw, especially since it's a really old battery and it probably isn't putting out its full juice. So yeah, if I had the 4 or 5 amp hour battery on there, it'd be fine. I could have went and got a 5 amp hour out of my truck, but I didn't. All right, so now I guess I'm ready to go take that wood over to the mulch place. I got my old truck with like 500,000 miles on her. I brought my broom and my shovel to scoop and scrape the truck bed out because there's a lot of loose bark. And then I brought me a milk crate just to help me get an extra step up into the bed because my milk was a week today and I'm all lightheaded and crap for my blood pressure medicine. I brought my gloves so that I can protect my exploded finger. It exploded on the side when I hit it with a hammer last week. All right, we're going to head it out. That's the baseball field where my dog came from. She was living under the bushes around here somewhere, starving to death. And somebody took her, I think it was the people in this house that took her in for a night till the dog warden came and got her. But we're going up this way. We're gonna get to the CNS tree service place, and I'll show you. They're right up here. I'll just leave the camera going. This is the best place in town to bring your mulch and dump it if you have to. And all you have to do is just pull right back in here where these trucks are, back in here, and back up and put it in that big giant brush pile back here. That's all we did. Alright, I'm gonna put the camera down so they don't look at me weird. Alright, so I got her all cleaned out there, if you can see that. That was a job. So now we're done with the mulch place. There's nobody else around here. Just let me switch the camera view. They just have a big pile of like people who cut trees and stuff come out and bring all their logs and stuff and empty them out here. And every once in a while they come and scrape it up with the bulldozer over there, and they dump it into a big mulcher over there, and they make mulch out of it. And there's some piles of like mulch there, and then they have like the treated and ready to go mulch over there in piles. But this CNS Tree Service is a really great place. It's great that you can jump stuff off here, but they're really good. They do good quality tree work as well. So, and they do it pretty affordably. So, yeah. All right, I'm gonna get on out of here now. I'll talk to you when I get back. All right, I had to set my phone inside for a while and let it recharge when I got back. But I got my bag of special fertilizer. Here, I'm going to go ahead and just cut this open, put it in my container. Oh yeah, there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my label on. That way I don't lose track of which one this is. This is really hard to get. It's been a 2-year process for me to find this and get some. And like you guys who know will know why this is so hard to get. But plants, this is the original real plant chocolate. Plants love this stuff. Instantly available nitrogen to them. It's not like your calcium nitrates or other types of nitrogen, urea that have to break down through several cycles before the nitrogen becomes available. When you transplant a plant, you put some of this down and it instantly gives it energy and gives it a boost. So, I mean, I only am going to use this when I transplant seedlings, so this is probably enough to last me the rest of my life. So I just sprinkle a little bit down when I transplant. And I'm not a huge gardener, I just have a backyard garden. So this will probably last me the rest of my life, although I may get some more of it, just to have some on hand. But for right now, this is good. All right, I'm gonna go out here and cut some more trees and brush down over here at the side by the fence line. I'm just gonna go back in here and try to clean out some of this line of stuff. I've cut the tops off of them off and hauled them away. I just have to cut the bottoms out of there. So. So I cleaned it out back to about right there, which is where the fence stops part way back. It's all rusted out and fallen over, but right back in here. And then I'm just gonna have to continue cleaning this out. I saw my old compost pile. I'm gonna have to get back in there, cut all this out, cut some of that tree out, but just clean all this up back in here, cut it back. You know, it'll grow back in a few years, but you know, just once in a while you got to cut it back and clean it up, or it takes over your entire yard. So I got a nice little wagon full of campfire wood for my friend, so he could use that. I had to go and get my bar and chain oil and put some bar and chain oil in it. And I went ahead and put my 4 amp hour battery on there while I was up there because it was done charging. But now I gotta do my weekly feed and watering on the garden. So I was thinking I had another chain that fit the DeWalt chainsaw, but that's a 14 inch. That was from my old Poland gas powered that I threw away when I got the DeWalt, because it was a Poland. You just kept on pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and hoping it would start. And you make a cut and sit it down and it would die, and you'd have to start pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling to make it start. And I tried everything, rebuilding the carburetor. And the thing is you would get it done. It would run great. You do some test cuts, purr like a kitten, and you'd be getting ready for the next day to go cut some firewood. And the next day, you just had to keep pulling and pulling and pulling, and it would die. You know, that thing was a nightmare. So I got rid of that. I mean, it ran good for like 4 or 5 years and didn't have any problems at all, but then just crapped out. So I got to get rid of that 14 inch chain and get me a new 12 inch chain for my DeWalt, because I don't think I have another one. I used to, and so I didn't know how to sharpen chains at all, so I just cut with them until they were dull and put a new one on. But Warble's On a Lot showed me how to sharpen the chains, and so I have a chain sharpener. But I still want to have a spare one. And then I always take and flip the blade around, like flip it upside down, flip it right side up, to help make the wear even on that blade. I probably should order an extra blade for it too, in case I ever bend that. And like SHTF happens and I have to use my chainsaw and there's nowhere to go get one, right? But yeah, so that is the wrong chain. That's for my Poland. It even says it on there, Craftsman Echo Poland Remington. So yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna have to get another chain ordered for my DeWalt. And this one's still plenty sharp. I don't need to sharpen it yet. This one cuts a little slower than a gas powered saw. It just does not have the power of a gas powered saw, but it's got enough power. And I mean, when they trimmed my big maple tree that's like really huge, they cut that thing back. I cut with this saw for 3 weeks solid, because they did a cut and leave lay. And I mean, in my neighbor's yard too, I just had to cut and cut and cut and cut and cut with this thing, and it just kept on working. So I really like the DeWalt XR chainsaw. And it's you know, it held up to heavy use, but it's a good light little saw just for some occasional homeowner type stuff too. I think you can't go wrong with an electric like a DeWalt. Now, if you're a professional tree cutter and you're cutting big trees, you gotta have a gas powered saw. Right? You're gonna get like a good Echo or Still or something, a Husqvarna, but you're not gonna get the cheapie. But these are way better than those cheapie gas powered saws. So at least I think so. But yep. All right. So it's Saturday. It's time to do my weekly feeding. So what I'm going to do is just open up my weekly feed, like so. I'm going to take me about 2/3 of a jar. About like that. And I just roughly guess 2/3 of a jar. I don't go through all kinds of crazy measurements. And I'll put this down at each row out here. I'll show you. And now I gotta work it into the squash bed. And this is gonna be fun to get down in here around these leaves. It's gonna take me a little bit to do it, but it is what it is. All right, and I also did my onions off camera. So what I'm gonna do now, because this is a great time to help work that fertilizer in, is go ahead and do my weeding. I just run the two-way hoe over all those weeds. That'll help mix the fertilizer into the soil. And now it's starting to get blue again, but it's windy, so I don't think it's gonna rain, so we're gonna water it in. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and water this thing. Okay, then my squash, I'm not going to hand water those. I'm going to use the automatic watering system, and I tried to put that weekly feed as close to directly under the pipe as I could, so as much of it will get dissolved as possible. You want to try to dissolve it because the urea, once it's exposed to air, urea goes into the atmosphere unless you water it in or unless you get it under the soil. So, and now we're just going to let that run for a few minutes and get those all watered in. All right, folks, it's actually the next day. I forgot to hit record on the conclusion part of my video yesterday, so I'm just recording this real quick. I'll add it to it, get it compiled, get it uploaded, and I did everything outside. Let me show you here. So I got the firewood all stacked up, I got the trailer unhooked, I got the lawnmower put away. I'm going to move this pile of brush right now back over to here until I get a chance to haul it. I couldn't fill up the truck last night with firewood and stuff because I had to go get me a 16-foot 2x6 today so that I can use that to mark my watering pipe, and then when I'm done with it, I'm gonna reinforce the T-frames. So I'm getting ready to sit up out here right now and start on the water pipe making video, but you can see all of this that I've cleared out now, and I need to get a rake out here and rake this out and clean it up, but that'll come later. But yeah, so everything's done. These are my 2 peppers that germinated downstairs. That's all the bigger they are yet. I'm waiting on them to get a little bigger, and I'm going to transplant the best one into the garden where a pepper died. So everything's looking good. Everything's pretty happy out here. My tomatoes, if you look at them right now, they're looking a little wilty. That's because they're out in the dead heat of the day in the sun. They wilt back a little bit. That's not a big deal. And squash and cucumbers will do that too. In fact, you can see my cucumber leaves are starting to look a little wilty. It's because they're out here in the dead heat of the day. So guys, surprised the spaghetti squash aren't doing that. They normally do. But everything will come back tonight. So yep, we're looking good. So I'm gonna get to moving this brush and get set up to mark the pipe for my watering system, and I'll be doing a video on that too. I'm just gonna try to do a really good step-by-step video to show you how to build this watering system because it's totally awesome.